a second. I'm confused. Is Colion Noir pro-shall-not-be-infringed or
anti-shall-not-be-infringed?
If you can hear the sound of my voice, it's probably because you're tuned into Grease Monkey videos. And if that's the case, over here we are pro-shall-not-be-infringed, which means we are
the resistance.
I listened to a 46-minute video last night. It was this one right here. I understand why people like Colion Noir. I have my reservations about him simply because every time I hear him talk, he always says that he's for the Second Amendment. And then he always, everything, when I saw him on Joe Rogan, he did it. When I saw him on Bill Maher, he did it. He did it in this debate between this co-founder of this gun control organization, who this guy says he's not anti-gun. He's not Second Amendment. Everything that came out of his mouth, he is anti-gun. He is Second Amendment. But every time Colion Noir makes an appearance, no matter what show he's on, he always tips the hat to background checks. He always says he's against universal background checks, but then he winks and nods in the direction that other background checks are just common sense.
And sometimes,
do you think it's fine for people to have without an ID or background check and to use in mass shootings?
Background check for all of these guns here, vast majority.
Right.
I don't know where this notion that.
So you support background checks? Is that what you're saying? You support background checks for everybody?
I don't support universal background checks.
What about background checks? Now, 20% of the people in this country get their guns without having to pass any sort of criminal check. Wayne LaPierre in 1999, we think it's reasonable to provide mandatory instant criminal background checks for every sale at every gun show, no loopholes anywhere for anyone.
Normally,
but wouldn't it be good if we had 100% of people who got a background check? Wouldn't that be good?
Sure, but how do you go about doing that from a private sale standpoint?
He doesn't say gun regulations, but it lends toward that. God, shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. A background check literally means that you need the government's permission slip, whether it's a local, state, or it's still a government. You need their permission slip to get a firearm. That's called an infringement. If there's any barrier between you and the firearm you want to reach out your hand to touch and buy, that's an infringement. Call it a universal background check, call it a local background check, call it common sense gun regulations. It's a background check. And both Colion Noir and this other guy, what was his name? John E. Rosenthal. John E. Rosenthal and Colion Noir both relied on statistics. Don't ever rely on statistics. I agree with that it's not a precept, it's just this kind of saying, and I don't remember who said it, but there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. You can massage statistics to say whatever you want to. You can massage statistics to say, hey, when the amount of guns increases in a community, crime goes down. You can also massage the same statistics to say when gun regulations increase, gun crime goes down. Don't rely on statistics. Because it doesn't matter if increased guns in a particular area like Kennesaw, Georgia. Did you know that there's a place in the United States called Kennesaw, Georgia, where there's actually, let me pull it up real quick. Kennesaw is a city in Cobb County, Georgia, United States, located in the greater Atlanta metropolitan area known as Metro Atlanta. The city is perhaps best known nationally today for its mandatory gun possession ordinance requiring all households in Kennesaw to have a gun with certain exceptions. I'm against that. You shouldn't be mandating anything for anybody. If they don't want to own a gun, you don't force them to own a gun. That's called tyranny. I understand the spirit behind it, and it's probably just on the books, to chase away criminals, but what criminal in their right mind who wants a safe working environment would go to Kennesaw, Georgia and start breaking into houses? I wouldn't. It's like, hey man, let's pin the tail on the donkey. Let's just go here and start robbing a bunch of houses. Kennesaw, Georgia? And then do a little Google search. Kennesaw, Georgia is best known nationally for its mandatory gun possession ordinance requiring households in Kennesaw to have a gun. We ain't stealing nothing in that town, man. You think I want to come out with a busted kneecap or a bullet through my lung? Screw that. Let's go somewhere easy. Let's go to California. Let's go to certain places in New York where it's almost impossible for the law abider to get guns. I understand the spirit behind this, But still, that's a mandate. So anytime I hear a gun debate, I wonder to myself why these pro-gunners don't just state the obvious. Mr. Anti-Gunner, whom I'm talking to, you're against gun violence, right? Yes. First of all, gun violence is a euphemism, but let's just go with it. There's no such thing as gun violence because it makes about as much sense as saying inanimate object violence, paperweight violence, knife violence, scissor violence, baseball bat violence. Nobody talks like that. But they do with guns. Why? Because they have an agenda. They want to take your guns away and make sure that you're disempowered. So you believe in gun control regulations, right? Which is really people control. That's another euphemism. They like to steer the minds of the masses into the wells of tyranny. So you're against gun violence? Yes. You're for gun control legislation? Yes. Do you trust government? Do you trust politicians? And then just wait for them to answer. It doesn't matter if they answer yes or no. The logical mind will answer, no, of course I don't trust government. So then you want gun control. Who do you want to control the guns? And if they do believe in government and they say, yes, I believe in government, I trust government, and I want the government to control the guns, how do you propose that the government enforce that gun regulation? How do you propose that the government come along and make sure that that law is adhered to and complied with and obeyed? You know what the bottom line answer has to be? Through force down the barrel of a government gun. So you said you were against gun violence. You said you wanted to promote gun control regulations, but what you really want to do is point a gun at a peaceful person to use a government gun to take their private property, i.e. a gun away. You're very much for gun violence. That is objective. That is truth. Nobody can dispute it. Ain't nobody out there with a rational, sane mind that's going to say they trust politicians and governments. And there's no way anybody could logically dispute the fact that what you really want is gun violence foisted on innocent people so that you can have your way. You are evil. You are actually the evil person saying that you want to eliminate evil by initiating evil through gun control regulations. I don't give a damn about statistics. I don't care how safe it is over here. An armed society is a polite society. One day somebody could use that statistic and say, look, there's so many guns here. Look how many crimes there are now. Yeah, it sounds like a good argument, but man, that can backfire on you real quick. Tell me who has the right to tell you what to do. Where did they get that right? Are they special human beings? Are they gods? Why don't you and I have that right? Is there something magical about this legalese called the legislative process? Is there magic pixie dust in the legislative process? Does Marjorie Taylor Greene really have more rights than you or I do? This is assuming you're talking to a Democrat because they hate Marjorie Taylor Greene. Are you really telling me that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Democrat, has more rights than you do? That they have a higher claim over your life and property than you? That they can scribble things down on pieces of paper and you have to follow them, and if you don't, then you get the butt end of a government gun in your face because Marjorie Taylor Greene said you need to obey my authority, and if you don't, you're gonna get caged, boy, or you're gonna get fined, girl. Yeah, and that's another thing about Colion Noir. For the longest time, he was getting checks from the NRA, man. This guy was a spokesman for the NRA. The NRA is the reason we have the NICS instant background check system. I've written to Colion Noir a couple times, and I'm like, dude, I like you, and this is nothing personal, but do you realize you work for an organization that actually takes credit for the institution of the NICS instant background check system, which is a federal gun registry check system that you say you're against? I don't know if he left or not. It kind of looks like it. I haven't seen any NRA stuff coming out of Colion Noir, but this guy's embroiled in the left versus right paradigm lie. He's actually spreading more cancer than the guy on the other side of it, because at least the guy on the other side of it, he shows his true colors. He wants to take your guns away. It's the people that I approach with great suspicion who actually say, no, I'm for the Second Amendment. I'm for shall not be infringed. I'm for securing your gun rights. Sure, background checks make sense. What? Not universal background checks, though. Guys, there shouldn't be any background checks. Anybody should go, Brian, that's dangerous. Do you want evil people to have guns? Nope. But I would rather, if having evil people have guns and have us have free access to get anything we want. I would way rather have that. Leave me alone and let me be in power. Don't broad brush me into the criminal category and try to ban what I've got in hopes of catching criminals in the dragnet. That never works, guys. But it's necessary. Necessity, again, is the plea for every infringement of human freedoms. It's the argument of tyrants. It's the creed of slaves. The slaves call for it because they're not thinking. The tyrants call for it because they are thinking. They're like, hey, necessity, that's a great way for me to put all of society under my thumb. Let's create a gun ordinance. The more laws there are, the less freedoms you've got. And notice how they stopped calling it gun control and they started calling it gun safety regulations to make you look bad if you resist it. You're against gun safety? We're not against gun safety. Everybody's for gun safety. It's the regulation part that I got a serious problem with. You got to have your gun in a lockbox. You can't have one that carries more than 9 bullets. Any magazine that you can't have 30 rounds. You can't have an assault style rifle, whatever that is. Yeah, banning guns gives criminals a market, and banning guns empowers real criminals. I'm not just talking about the politicians right here, but I'm talking about the street criminals. And victimizes law abiders because the law abiders are going to obey that. They're going to be like, I don't want to be a criminal. I don't want to be caught with this gun. I don't want to go to jail. That makes sense. That's what's so insidious about every gun law. So I wanted to talk about this Colion Noir thing. I might go over this 46-minute video and just kind of distill the exact problems I have with it. But Colion Noir is just as much of an enemy of anybody who adds any sliver or element or level of tyranny to anything is your enemy. Anybody who comes against shall not be infringed, whether it's full-on overt or seriously covert, is your enemy. Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. Are you saying people should be able to own tanks? Shall not be infringed. You figure it out. Are you saying people should be able to own full automatic rifles and real military equipment? Up to including nukes? Shall not be infringed. You figure it out. You're saying they should have nukes? Shall not be infringed. Shall not be frickin' infringed, man. You're crazy. No, what's crazy is trusting somebody or saying that you trust somebody, government, that you really don't trust so that they can initiate gun violence that you say you hate on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong. That's crazy. That's truly criminal. I would love to talk to Colion Noir. I've got nothing personal against him. Shall not be infringed. That's dangerous. Shall not be infringed. What is more dangerous? Letting people just most people aren't criminals, guys. Most people are good and wouldn't dare try to steal from somebody, but they don't have a problem having a third party steal for them, i.e. voting for a political parasite. That's why I say voting is actually demoralizing and dehumanizing, because what you're actually doing is asking political parasites that you can't trust to commit crimes on your behalf so that you can feel safe. That's literally what voting is. But he was a Republican. He's a conservative. He holds many of my conservative values. Then why did he go for red flag laws? Why did he initiate bump stock bans? Why did he sign the $6.2 trillion stimulus package, which rewarded the bankers and the corporations? And put future untold generations on the hook for more banker debt. They're not your friends. They never will be. Stop living in the land of delusion. If you disagree, I'd like to hear from it, but I want to stick with things that are objective. If you ban an inanimate object that I have, then you have effectively criminalized me, which means you have made me an enemy for no freaking reason in the eyes of the state. And under that implication and assumption and accusation, you think it's right for me, who's now a criminal, to be infringed upon, have my property stolen from me, arrested, fined, caged, up to and including killed, because I've somehow done something wrong because a politician said I shouldn't have something that the majority of the lemmings said, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's just go ahead and sign that into law, which makes even the people who ask for it less free. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. If you want to support the channel, one of the best things you can do is like and share this video with everybody you know, everywhere you can on social media. If you want to support further, the Patreon, Bitcoin, and Subscribestar links are in the description in the pinned comment. And if you want to support further, you can grab a hard-hitting, conversation-starting shirt from the shirt store. I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.